I was there. I don't have to listen to it.
This week's show because it was a disaster.
When you live in a beach resort, it's easy to forget whether you are playing or working. On each week's show, we settle in with a cocktail and try to figure out if there is a difference. This is Day Drinking on Delmarva.
Todd's like, hey, you want to do this live? And I'm like, sure.
I am Todd from GoodCleanFunLife.com.
And I am Tony Rousseau, no relation, and you're listening to Day Drinking on Delmarva, a podcast about life and culture on the Delmarva Peninsula. We're coming to you live from the Crowbar in Berlin, an excellent secret spot, or at least half of us are.
Mm-hmm.
The other half is me, and I'm in Delmar, which is neither excellent nor secretive. And also, I want to apologize to anyone who is watching. I just got back from a cross-country trip, and boy, are my arms tired. Too tired to pick up all the shit I dumped behind me. So this is what my office looks like when I don't clean it before the show.
Do you want me to go back to the tight shot?
No. The tight shot is worse because it reminds me how fucking huge I am.
Tony, I've got good news. I've lost weight.
Yeah, I found it. Right. Yeah. So much to get to today. We've been off a week, and you've been off for 2 weeks because, as Todd is about to find out, although I processed last week's show, I did not hit post. So it's still sitting there in the queue waiting for me to post it. So you'll get this show, which we're recording on Veterans Day 2020, will probably come out on the 15th or so. And last week's show will be out in probably another hour or two.
Perfect.
Yeah. Before we get to everything, though, let's introduce our sponsors. Our sponsors each week are the drinks that we are drinking. You're welcome to sponsor us. Just tell us what you want us to drink, and we will drink it if you pay. And in this case, this is, I think, the last of the beers that I can drink on camera. I have one other beer. It's a special New Jersey beer, but it's a bomber, and I'm going to drink that when I have the time to enjoy it. You know, it's 22 ounces. I want to share it with people. It's big and thick. I've already had one. It's a special issue New Jersey beer that you don't care about. But this one is called We Want the Funk.
We want the funk.
And funky beers are not my favorite beers. So I will drink it anyway, though, because it is here. And as Doug Griffith always said, even if it doesn't taste good, it's still beer.
Yeah. That's pretty genius. And that's also from 902 Brewing, right?
Yeah, 902 Brewing. It actually tastes like you expect it to taste.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm not going to, I'll leave the other one for my wife who likes funky beers better than I do. But if you like funky IPAs, this is a to style one.
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
It's still beer. And how about you? What do you got over there?
I am drinking beer in the bourbon variety. Just kidding. It's just bourbon. Yeah, I've actually, I'm steering away from beer a little bit, not wholly. I had a couple while helping a friend settle into her new apartment the other day, new townhouse. But bourbon's my go-to, and maybe it's a segue to one cool thing, but it's also celebratory because my cholesterol's down.
Yay! And again, as I say, mine is up. I had a long trip across the country, and it took a real toll on my body. The tragedy of age, one of the many, many, many great tragedies of age, is especially if you haven't behaved yourself your whole life like me. I'm sorry, I've misbehaved my whole life. I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression. I can't drink much beer anymore because my body's like, you know what? Screw you. We're not processing it anymore. You're going to be miserable and gassy until you lose about 80 pounds.
Yep.
So I just have the one beer a week, and this is probably my last one for a while because this is the last of the beers. But we're here on Veterans Day, and I wanted to just quick start on a Veterans Day thing. Oh, before we do that, I want to get to our social media stuff.
Yep.
Because we are super active on social media, and you should check us out there.
Yeah, super active may be an exaggeration, but we'll go with it. You can find us on Instagram at Day Drinking on Delmarva. You can find us the visual podcast on the Good Clean Fun Life YouTube page, and sometimes the Facebook page. Although this week it's not on the Facebook page. How about that?
That's okay with me. I wouldn't have known one way or the other.
Yeah.
I've almost completely divorced myself from Facebook, and that's something that might be worth talking about later on. So
Sure.
I will write that down.
Make a note.
I am.
Put a pin in it.
I also already named this episode.
Oh, good.
So I want to tell you about it. Earlier today, I always email Todd to see if the show is on when he hasn't sent me the link. And I shouldn't. I should just wait for the link to come because I'm not ready. I mean, I'm never ready.
Right.
And the reason I want to name the show, I'm going to name the show Fat Naked Mr. Rogers, is because that's really what we're 35 seconds away from being. I come in, I take off my robe, I throw on my Zoom shirt, and we get right to it. But I don't do that before I ask Todd if he's ready.
Yeah.
I say, Todd, are you ready? And he's like, yes, I'm ready. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go get changed, and then I'm going to walk the dog, and then I'm going to make a drink, and then I'll be ready too.
Yeah.
And it's something that I don't know why I do, but I do it every week. It's because I don't want to have to get out of my robe, honestly.
Right.
I'm like, well, if he says no, then I came this close to actually just doing it in my robe. It was...
I think that's perfectly acceptable.
It's only a matter of time before I just do this in my robe, because I don't want to. I'm always afraid. Like I'll turn on the camera and I'll be like, "Oh, you're not dressed," and then I go and get dressed, and I'm like, it's only a matter of time before you hit go, and then Todd sees your great huge ass changing out of your robe and into your Zoom clothes.
Yeah.
And I was terrified that happened today. I was like 30% sure that it had happened, but it didn't. So you're welcome.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So what's the episode
title?
Yeah.
Fat Naked Mr. Rogers.
Fat Naked Mr. Rogers.
Because I changed my...
Yeah. So basically you come in a robe, changing into not a robe.
Right.
Perfect. I like it.
Yeah. So each week we try to start off the show with what we call one cool thing. And that is one cool thing that we've done this week. Because of the note that I made, I'm going to go first, and then we're going to talk to Todd, and then we're going to go on. So my one cool thing briefly is I drove to Washington and back last week.
Not Washington, D.C.
Washington State. I drove, it was 5,500 miles is what I put on my, the truck that I rented. And I know because I paid like 21 cents a mile, which is,
it
adds up.
Go figure.
It was pleasant. I'm always shocked at how big this country is.
Yeah.
And I'm a little surprised that people in the mountains, all right, the mountains are just better looking.
Right.
It's as simple as that. I don't know how they get used to it.
Yeah. We live close to the beach, and I've been hundreds of yards from the beach, and don't even give it a second glance. So,
well, I don't, but that's because I'm better than you. But also, they have highways that are nice to look at. Our highways, like there's the Indian River Bridge, maybe where you can see out, or even the Bay Bridge, you can see out into the swamplands and stuff. But everywhere you look, there are, for instance, the Rocky Mountains, not some mountains, not some big, the Rocky fucking Mountains are everywhere you look. And I stopped in Montana at one point, and my daughter went into a Safeway to get supplies for the day. And I was looking at this filthy Safeway and all these like straggly cars in front of it and the mountains behind it. And I'm like, this looks like bad CGI.
It's the most beautiful Safeway.
No, the ugliest Safeway, but it looked, do you remember having the viewfinders when you were a kid, the 3D viewfinders?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what everything out west looks like to me. It looks like some picture in front of some other better picture.
Right.
And I didn't get used to it the whole way back. I'd be driving and like I came up with a new state motto for Wyoming.
Okay.
It is like Nebraska but pretty.
Yeah. I like that one.
Yeah. And I also picked up a bunch of postcards. I do not know your address, so you're not getting one. And I'm sorry. Man. I'll fix that after this. Is it 6 or 10 or 106? 6?
It's 6.
Anyway.
And if you would have sent it to 10, it would have ended up here. I mean, it's like a classic small town living. All it says, it could say
got your name
Berlin, and it would make it to our house.
That's I got a bunch of postcards for me and for my daughter, and I thought that in the hotel at night, we write silly things on the postcards and send them out to all of our friends and like our family, really.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, that's stupid. I'm not doing it. But I have like 50 postcards. So I'm like, just everybody I know, I'm like, and I'm not signing them either.
Yeah. That's even better.
So
It's creating that mystery.
Yeah. And I might do that more often.
Yeah.
Because it was fun. Like I just wrote absurd things, sometimes about what was on the postcard.
Yeah.
They're all gone now. But there were some postcards with just ridiculous. There was one with a squirrel, and it was just a squirrel in profile.
Uh-huh.
And I don't remember what state it was. All the states have squirrels. And again, like, why do you put a squirrel on your postcard?
Yeah, all states have squirrels.
But what I wrote on the back of it was, "This is the Abraham Lincoln of squirrels," and I sent it to one of my nieces. Just stupid things, because I hope they'll be pleasant to get. And I'll do that. I'll do that from now on. If I see postcards that are goofy, I'm going to write goofy things on the back and send them to people. That's my new modus operandi.
That could be a good campaign for us to get more listeners. We should just send postcards from Delmarva. In fact, our friends Trevor and Jimmy have created Delmarva stickers, and they're like sort of throwback bumper stickers that say kind of silly things and reference Delmarva.
Right.
And maybe we could turn those into postcards and email or email them. You can see I can't even wrap my head around it. And we could send them out to random people, and maybe we'll get people to start listening to the show.
That's what it was. Stephanie and I, when we used to do our So What's Your Story show, if people wrote in, we would send them a postcard.
Mm-hmm.
And she bought like a lot of nice, good looking postcards. And then, like 6 people.
Yeah.
You were one of them, right? Didn't you send us didn't you get a limerick from me on postcard? Anyway, I would send a limerick, but I'll tell you what, yes, if you write into the show with your address, I will send you a postcard.
Yeah.
You can write Tony@russodigital.com and give me your address. I'll send you a postcard. It's fun. I'm into it now. I bought like $1,000 worth of forever postcard stamps.
Yeah.
And they do take forever to get there.
Yeah.
So that's probably why the stamps are called forever stamps.
I'm sure it doesn't have anything to do with the election and all that sort of thing. That was going to be my joke, by the way. Oh, last week, I really happy to get some really great news. What's that, Todd? My cholesterol is down.
Oh, I see. Well, I was very, very fortunate. I might do this from now on. I didn't check my email or Twitter, or I drove and I slept last week.
Yeah.
I didn't know the results of the election until yesterday.
Wow.
I didn't know that they were finalized until yesterday, insofar as they've been finalized. And that was just because of a conversation with my daughter. And I think I'm happier for it. So
I'm sure that you are. I'm quite sure that you are.
But let's get to your one cool thing, because we have someplace to go from there. So that was my one cool thing. Drove across the country, drove back.
Right.
Nearly died.
Nearly died. We kind of left that part out, but that's okay.
That's fine. We'll talk about it some other time.
The my one cool thing is, as I mentioned before, had the opportunity to interview a number of the fine folks over at Dogfish Head Brewing in celebration and acknowledgement of their 25 years of existence. And it was a great project. It was fun to be able to interview people and ask some sort of silly questions like, do you remember what you were doing on your 25th birthday? Or where Dogfish is a quarter century. What's the last thing you bought for a quarter? But really to be able to sit down with Sam and Mariah and get kind of their perspective on things as they are right now. What I didn't realize, and the one cool thing that happened to me last week, is that because of the merger with Boston Beer Company, this is something that they had 2 sort of goals of accomplishing, and one just to celebrate the 25 years, but also to play at the Boston Beer locations. I guess there's like a 700 person plant in Pennsylvania. There's a
Oh, that's
factory.
cool.
Yeah, there's a factory in Cincinnati, and that did not become aware to me until this other girl was looped into this the conversation of the guy that I was working with up at Dogfish. And I just assumed this person was another Dogfish person. And, I looked her up before I had a telephone conference with her. And sure enough, she's like internal communications for Boston Beer Company,
Right.
And although she's like very much on my level, and she's still pretty young. I think she graduated from like Villanova when I started my business, but
Right.
And it's a neat thing. And to be able to talk to somebody who's involved in that big of a company and have them being like, hey, well, if you have any ideas on how we can make this work for, like I said, the 700 people over in Pennsylvania that don't even know who Dogfish is or not as familiar. I don't know. It's a neat, it's a neat challenge. It's a great, perspective to kind of look at the project that I'm working on and try to, put those people in mind as the audience. I try to do that more and more. Like I'm not the audience. And as I'm trying to challenge myself to be better at what I do. So yeah, it was a pretty cool thing to be involved with that. I don't know what's going to come out of it. I'm not saying, but it's just kind of fun to be like, oh yeah, I'm working with Boston Beer Company. And I have to say this, Tony, we were talking and, she's internal communication. So she doesn't have like the big marketing budget and that's right. And, I'm talking about the cornerstones of authenticity and personality. And that's what we've always done with the companies that we work with, the brands that we work with. And I was so close to bringing up the Bill Burr Saturday Night Live sketch.
Right. Yeah.
And just how perfect that was. I'm like, so did you like that or what? And I cringed to think that they're probably like, yeah, that was maybe not the best thing. In my opinion, it was the best thing.
Oh no, I'm sure they love it. What's
brand.
Unfortunate is it happened so long ago.
Yeah.
Like you'd be the 1,000th person to ask her. Like if you're the first 50 to ask a question like that, like if you would talk to her that week, it would have been, hey, congratulate, because that's how you put it. You don't say, what did you think? Say, hey, congratulations on that Saturday Night Live thing. And oh yeah, it was excellent. It was very, very funny. It's always nice to have the brand out there, blah, blah. I can talk for her if you want. You want to pretend I'm her?
Yeah, that would be great. That's going to be good.
But when you're talking about trying to make this leap to make your video more accessible to other people, and I kind of paired that up with my earlier statement, which was I'm almost completely divorced from Facebook. I do have a book that hopefully will be coming out in March. I was nearly finished it. That's the other reason I asked if we were starting, because I'll probably finish it today.
Oh, fun. I'm glad I could interrupt it.
Thank you. The first real draft should be finished today. And I was looking at Facebook and I was saying to myself, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to put in the effort to grow my presence on Facebook in as much as the amount of work that I would have to do isn't worth it to me.
Right.
And I would rather do that much work on something else that is more useful.
Right.
A better way to connect with people without having to rely on Facebook. And I don't know what it is. I've got a couple of ideas, and that's why I thought we could talk about it right here, because you're also working on it. One of the things that I will do, actually, I've already started it. So tomorrow will be the first day. Is I'm going to go back to blogging, just Tony's bullshit blogging. Just hey, here's what I think today.
Right.
I mean, I have a list of things to write about. I haven't been writing because I've been working on the book, but now that the book's mostly done, I'm going to get back to blogging. And I mean, I'll promote the blog on Facebook, but mostly I'm going to worry about getting people to read my stuff rather than like it. And that is the biggest problem with Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone will like it, 10,000 likes, and then 100 people go to the website. And of the 100 people that go to the website, 10 go to the pages. And it's not sufficient for me.
Right.
It's too much work for not enough return. If I can do a blog and I can just keep sharing the blog on all the social media, but get people into the habit of going to the blog or maybe a newsletter, those are the two things that I have in mind. But like, what do you think when you have to get in touch with people and not use Facebook? What have you been working at?
Well, I've been working on being a better communicator in general, but reaching out. I mean, I have been putting stuff in the YouTube corner, which is, obviously flawed, but I find that because I know how I consume content on there, that I am not a 30-second, viewer watcher. I am, as much as 17 minutes if it's something that I'm interested in. So that's what I've been focusing on is YouTube, and creating, that 5 to 10 minute video that I sit and I watch of people that I find interesting or subjects that I find interesting. Is that the question that you were asking?
Yeah. And so
and it's interesting because in talking to this girl about this internal...
I'm sorry, I'm your friend. Say woman.
Okay. I did it before the show.
I know. Well, before it didn't occur to me, but I don't mind saying girl because I'm an asshole. But like for the people that can only hear Todd and can't see him, his voice gets a little sick every time he's like, I don't want to say girl, but that's the only word that's in my head. And so I wasn't correcting him so much as helping him find that word, because he'd be like, and I was talking to this girl, and he had a weird face on. So I was not correcting him, just helping him because he didn't like saying girl, but he couldn't.
I knew it was wrong, but my small brain could only do so many things.
It was kind of fun to see you struggle too. I'm not going to say I did it on purpose, but it was like, I keep saying girl, I can't stop.
I said it once. I guess it's okay. In talking to this fine professional woman at Boston Beer, I went and the first thing I did was, because she had asked like, what is, if any suggestions that you might have for, for like how platforms or where this stuff could live and that sort of thing, I'm open to. And the first thing I did was go to their YouTube page. And what I find interesting is that, Sam Adams is a much, much larger brand, larger market share than Dogfish Head, but they have 5,000 subscribers on their YouTube channel, and Dogfish Head has almost 13,000. And Dogfish Head has 2 and 3 and 5 minute videos, and they have basically just what the marketing team has created for 15 and 30-second commercials uploaded to their YouTube. So it's definitely just like, I don't know, they're checking a box. And that's where I think I'd like to live with my content. And that's just kind of, and I could be totally wrong too, because I was thinking about this. I was going to suggest that, maybe you do more stuff on YouTube. A lot of people, I'm just going to say a lot of people will watch for longer periods of time on YouTube. And though that may be true in my world, it may not be true in brands worlds, like Boston Beer.
Well, you have to wonder if, in addition to the beer, the approach to marketing wasn't at least part of the consideration, because Dogfish has been at least as good at it, if not better at it, than everybody else since they started.
Mm-hmm.
They were the first people to take the internet very seriously as a marketing tool.
Mm-hmm.
And the Sam did videos. He's like, here's me making beer. Here's me talking with this famous person about my beer. Right. And it made it a way for him to connect directly with his drinkers.
Yeah.
And without criticism at all, Jim Coke
Yep.
has never really done that. When I see him in videos, he's fucking charming.
Yeah.
But he doesn't sit down and have a beer. Like if he sat down and had a beer once a month and just shot the shit, people would watch that.
Yeah.
They would also watch it because he's a huge CEO and what he says has economic implications.
Right.
But also to continue to have fun. The thing that I wonder about in this transition, and maybe the reason that Jim doesn't do as many videos, is maybe he doesn't want to be the face of the brand.
Right.
Only because he's getting old. He's like, I don't want to be, Frank Perdue and and just have to sit here like a crazy old man talking well after I should have stopped. But putting that in someone else's hands, saying, okay, this is the new face of the brand, that's giving someone an awful lot of power.
Yeah.
And I think that when they weigh things like that, that's where it might get difficult. If I were in charge, I would hire a host or 3 hosts.
Right.
And you're the host for this year, and then every year have a contest for the new Samuel Adams host to talk to someone at the brewery on tape for 5 minutes a month or for 15 minutes a month or something. This is what I'm doing. Anything that kind of brings people into the brewery and makes people feel like they're a part of it, which is what Dogfish has done so well. Dogfish was, when you come, this is what you're a part of.
Right.
And, and also Samuel Adams is so much bigger. Like, they don't want to make any kind of false statements. They don't want to give you a sense that, if you show up at the Pennsylvania factory, everybody's going to be hanging around, but they can show what it's like to hang around at these different places, and
what I find interesting is in kind of consuming some of their material and some of the cross promotion that they did at the beginning. So a year ago they did the collaboration with Dogfish, and it was, it was Sam and Jim in the video together. And yes, Sam Adams is a huge company, but still an independent brewer and still, wearing the mantle of David to all of the big beer Goliaths that are out there. And I felt that was an important thing to remember. I think, you talk to some small brewers around here, even on the shore, and they look at how many barrels Dogfish is doing. And at some point, I think that's where they stopped saying craft and they started saying independent,
right.
And I think that is a good rallying cry, regardless of the size. You still want to be innovative and you still want to connect with people. And they are, it's like, I don't know. It's like the income disparity. It's like the beer disparity. You think that it's like, Miller Coors, just below them is, Sam Adams and Yingling, and just below them is Dogfish, and then, down to Dewey Beer Co. or something like that. But there's such a huge gap between, the Miller Coors and then those independent breweries. And I don't know. I feel like that is something more to play into, creating that authenticity and creating that personality around the people involved.
The reason that Miller Coors, AB InBev have done so well is they were able to get people to make a personal association with their brand.
Mm-hmm.
And, people who drink Budweiser drink Budweiser. They don't, like, the commercials don't hurt, but it's like Coca-Cola says, yes, we are still what you think we are.
Yep.
And you still like it,
Yep.
And that was the place where Samuel Adams is kind of stuck. Is they're right between that idea of we're still who we are and you like it. And they have all of these different beers coming out. And the other really complex thing is Samuel Adams started in a different way from Dogfish. They started as a big production brewery.
Yeah.
They started from the old model. Sam and a lot of the guys who started in the 90s started with a new model, which is I'm going to make enough beer for my neighborhood. I'm going to make enough beer for my town, and growing it like that instead of saying I'm going to make enough beer for the East Coast.
Yeah.
Which is, Samuel Adams started really big.
Yeah.
And so it's going to have that weird corporate mentality, which is like, okay, what are our commercials going to look like? What are our promotions going to look like? Because they started at that level that Dogfish Head is really kind of just reaching now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the way Dogfish reached it was a little bit at a time. And then Samuel Adams started big and went bigger.
Yeah.
And Dogfish started small and got bigger.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see, you would love to see more videos of Jim. Like I said, he's super charming. I watched a video of him proving that I think eating yeast kept you from getting too drunk.
Yeah. I mean, that's the rumor that he eats yeast. Yeah,
there's a video. Yeah, look at it. And okay. So why is that not the primary, why is that not front page on
Yeah.
I don't think I think maybe the Craft Beer magazine or somebody produced the video, but the idea behind making a personal connection with your customers, for me, hopefully my readership is going to be critical, especially if you don't want to go the Facebook route, which is it's just tedious. I opened it up today and I was like, I don't want to do anything. And I just closed it back down. I check it like my email. Do I have any messages? No. Or else I use it to find, people to interview on the internet.
Well, and what I find interesting about Facebook is now their notification, their drug pushing has become more, they have found new ways to give you little red notifications at the top of your screen. That little dopamine boost, like the new layout has, it's like your notifications here and then messages and then like groups. And then when cause I'm doing the same thing, I'm just opening it. I'm, posting stuff on a client's page and then I'm getting out of there. But I look at my notifications and it's like, oh, so-and-so commented on somebody else's post. I'm like,
why do I care?
Why do I care? Am I mentioned in it? No. Am I tagged in it? No.
No, just you're not playing enough. I get a lot of those. I also get notifications about things I've already seen.
Yeah.
Because I have a Tony Russo, the writer page, my professional page, and it'll say, you have 3 messages, and I'll go there, and there are 3 messages that I already read.
Yeah.
But I took the bait and I went, and that's what's frustrating to me, and why I feel like I'm going to try more and more to move away from that.
Yeah.
I'm just a little AC about where and how to proceed.
Well, and that's Natalie and I have the conversation. It's like, all right, we're going to make this video. We're going to, it's going to live on YouTube. We're going to make a post on our website, and then we're going to share the website post on, other social media. Sometimes we'll go direct to Instagram because we still, do stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know maybe there's some other options, but that is just kind of the mentality that we have right now to get the message out there and to do that.
Yeah. And I think that there's nothing wrong with I'll do the same thing. And anyone that comes from Facebook to your website, those are the only people you care about anyway.
Yeah.
You don't have to moderate. That's what I decided this morning. I'm no longer moderating comments. Like if I say, I'm not getting into conversations on Facebook because it's just people who are saying, oh, I didn't read this, but I'd like to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, thank you. I put it out there, and now you can read it or you cannot read it. And that'll be the end of that. So that's my plan. Hopefully next week I'll have some more announcements. I'll probably go back to writing on Medium. I don't think I'm going to build a new blog.
Yeah.
But I think that I'll have another stab at the newsletter going, and hopefully the return of Beer with Strangers, because I'm still paying for it. I should put something up there.
Yeah. Cool. Well, maybe we'll have Jim Coach on the next podcast.
Say this is how the internet works, Jimmy.
Yeah. Hey.
So much stuff more to get to. I wanted to just briefly, it is Veterans Day, so we should say that it is Veterans Day. And just a gentle reminder that veterans are alive, and Memorial Day is for people who aren't alive.
Yep.
And the reason it matters to me is because I want to give recognition where it's due.
Right.
I'm a kind of with Kurt Vonnegut, whose birthday is today. I don't know how old he would be, probably 100, maybe a little bit less. But he bemoaned the loss of Armistice Day, which used to be November 11th. And he said that by lumping all of the war holidays onto one day, it makes you forget how often we have wars. Like if every war got its own holiday, after a while, people would be like,
why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this? And instead it's used as kind of a rallying point for sometimes an aggressive militaristic stance that I don't believe even many veterans have. I think veterans are a little embarrassed by Veterans Day. But they also don't want to not participate because,
right,
that's like not showing up to your birthday party because you don't think it's important.
Right.
So just remember, it's Veterans Day, which is different from Memorial Day, where we're remembering those who are alive and who have served, and everyone who has served and is no longer with us. We'll thank them in May, but make the thank yous pointed. Otherwise, they're meaningless, I think is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yep.
Sorry to get a little preachy, but that was just on my mind all day, and I figured I had to say it.
No, it's funny. Right before I got on, it's the Veterans Day message that I put out there was thank you for all who have served and are serving.
Right. I mean, that's fair.
That's how it goes.
That's absolutely the truth. But we're going to bring it to an end here, although I have plenty more to say. We'll save it for next week. I am sorry that we are a week behind, but we should be back on schedule now.
Mm-hmm.
And until next time, remember, at the beach,
it's happy hour whenever you say it is.
Cheers.